Welcome, everybody. It is Bradshaw Live. We are only 1 hour and 5 minutes late. So, what are we, 10 minutes late then in Bradshaw Live time? It is Wednesday, Hump Day, everybody. Happy Hump Day to all. And let me say hello. It's June 17th. In case people don't know that I don't know what the date is, I know exactly what the date is. It is June 17th. So let me say hello to the squad. Violet Blackwood, squad up. Tamika Nelson saying hello. Lovey Lima Tango, squad up. Corrine Plunkett, how are you? Joan Grant, Jasmine Caballero saying good evening, family. Moya Douglas, how are you, Moya? Patricia Spencer, squad up, Patricia. Barbara Bedward, I think I pronounced her name right. Brad, squad up, bless up. How are you? Carlos Estrella, all the way down from the DR. What's going on, Carlos? Haven't seen you in a long time. Christy Consali, seeing her every day here. And Sasha Ford saying hello. Let's go over to YouTube and see what's going on YouTube. I just had to scratch on my head. I don't know why. Agawa Torre saying hello, Brad. Javier Ramirez with a question on YouTube. Can't even bother to say hello to the squad. Javier jumping right in with a question. All right, Javier. Despite the fact that you did not say hello to the squad, I will answer your question. I will read it now. It says, I have a question. Is it okay to pay an attorney to prepare an EB3 unskilled case to make sure everything goes okay? And can such consultancy firms promote job advertisements? Thanks. Yes, it's okay to pay an attorney. If you're doing a job sponsorship case, you should hire an attorney. Now, a consultancy firm is not a law firm, so make sure you know who you are hiring, and that law firm is not okay to promote the job advertisements. The job advertisements legally have to be done by the employer. The law firm cannot take part in any of the tests of the labor market, which would include putting ads for an unskilled position, putting ads in the newspaper on 2 consecutive Sundays. Now, Javier Ramirez, one of the things about getting sponsored in an unskilled worker position is that many unskilled worker jobs, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them, the immigrant who is getting sponsored in that job is already out of status. So if you are out of status, in order to get your green card as an out of status immigrant through a job sponsorship, you either have to be 245I eligible, meaning you're grandfathered under the immigration laws, something that was filed, you had an application, or your family member had an application in which you were a derivative filed before April 30th, 2001, and you were physically here on December 21st, 2000, or had anything in the system before January 14th, 98, or you are provisional waiver eligible, meaning you have a spouse or a parent who is a legal resident or a citizen. Other than that, as an overstay by more than 180 days, you can't get sponsored in a job because you have nowhere to go pick up the green card. So I don't know what your situation is, Javier, but my opinion would be that that I would have a consultation with somebody who knows what they're doing. That could be me. It doesn't have to be me. There's a telephone number scrolling on the bottom. Back it up, Ricky. Good evening. How are you? Sexy Shammeyer saying hi, Brad. I got to finish saying hi to the squad. Tracy Lacey, happy Hump Day. At least one person knows it's Hump Day. Tia Prasad saying hello, Uncle Brad, and everyone squad up. Have a blessed day. Balaj Muhammad, squad up. Tomasi Baba, and blessings Odin. Mile 7 has a question, but at least says hello first. Hello, Mr. Brad. Thank you. Mile 7. Please, do you have, dear, I guess I have an update when immigration office in New York is going to open. Thank you, and God bless you. It's now getting pushed back to early July, as a matter of fact. They keep pushing it back. Every time they make an announcement, they push it back more and more. So hopefully soon. And, there's still there's a big uproar right now, even within Congress. Both Democrats and Republicans are demanding that Donald Trump, at least at a bare minimum, schedule swearing-in ceremonies for naturalization via video. Trump is not even making naturalization swearing in by video, and both Republicans and Democrats are demanding it. Now, probably the reason why Trump's not doing it is he doesn't want any more immigrants to be citizens and be eligible to vote in this coming November, because the presumption would be if you're an immigrant, you're not going to vote for Trump. So my guess is he's kind of pushing off the naturalization ceremonies to probably, my guess is he'll get away with pushing them off till August or maybe even September. And then he'll start swearing at everybody and saying, look what a great job I'm doing. I'm swearing at everybody. But it'll be too late to vote in November, unfortunately. So, that's Trump just trying to manipulate the election a little bit. Tia Prasad saying, miss you, Uncle Brad. Welcome back. I missed everybody too. Daniel K saying hello. AJ saying it was his favorite. I think he said that. My favorite uncle is here. Finally, squad up. Thank you, AJ. Brianna Hale saying, hey, Brad. And 29 Super C, Tracy Lacey. Cordella Douglas, I hope you're feeling better. And Cindy Albert saying, good evening. Let's just check quickly on Facebook very quickly. Pauline Blackwood, squad up. Marge Higgs, how are you? Marge Higgs with a question. But she says, good evening first. I'm sure she always says squad up. She has very good manners, Marge Higgs. Asking for a friend. She's in America and is out of status, and her kids are in Canada, wants to petition for her. She wants to know if they can do that while she lives in America, or she has to go back to Jamaica. All right, so she's in America and is out of status, and the kids are in Canada. Kids can petition for her to go to Canada. Whether or not you're asking me what the law is for getting the Canadian landed permanent resident status, whatever they call it in Canada. The green card in Canada is like landed something. Whether she has to go back to Jamaica or not, that's a Canadian immigration law question. That goes well beyond my expertise. If it was the other way around, yes, if she was illegal in Canada and the kids were in the United States, yes, she would have had to have gone back to Jamaica. So I presume yes, but Canada may have their own rules. Jasmine Caballero, Uncle Brad, he should use you because you know what you're doing. Thank you very much, Jasmine. Christoph with a quick question as well. I have a quick question. It's never that quick, but we'll answer it quickly. I got married to a U.S. citizen and put my daughter on the filing, but my son didn't go on it because he was already past after 18 and I got married. However, a friend of mine said she did it for her son. He was the same age, and she told me he got this. Is this possible? If the marriage happened after the child turned 18, you cannot have a U.S. citizen file as a step parent. You would have to get your green card. The parent of the child would have to get a green card and then turn around and file for that child. But you can't have a step parent relationship. It's possible what happened was with the friend is that the marriage occurred before the 18th birthday of the child and they filed for the child after the 18th birthday. That would be fine. But it all depends on the date of the marriage. How old was the child at the date of the marriage? And 29 Super C, giving me some thumbs up, giving me some love. Thank you very much, 29 Super C. 29 Super C on YouTube. Let's give Uncle Brad some love by clicking underneath the video, the thumbs up, and make it blue. We have 75 people watching on YouTube right now. Only 25 people have given me a thumbs up. I really appreciate. If we had 77 thumbs up, that's the number of people watching right now. And if you turn that thumb blue, it'll notify lots of people that we have a pretty good show, and maybe you should watch it as well. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll always be notified every time we come live. You will get all of the news and updates and immigration questions and answers, and educate yourself and inform yourself and have fun and meet the greatest group of people ever known to the history of the world, the Brad Squad. Also on Facebook, please like and follow us. If you like and follow us, you'll get the same thing as the people on YouTube. You're going to be notified every time we come live. And you also get to be part of the greatest group in the history of the world, the Brad Squad. Also, if you do like and follow us on Facebook and you subscribe on YouTube, you get to be part of the Brad Squad. There's a Facebook membership group. Jilly Bean is the membership committee chair right now. It's a rotating chair right now. She is the membership committee chair. Just kind of have to like suck up to her a little bit and tell her you like and follow on Facebook, you subscribe on YouTube, and she'll let you in the group on Facebook. It's a cool, very cool group with a very cool group of people. Also, we have our Instagram. I apologize. I'm going to have to make it up to everybody. It's my fault because I got very busy today, so I did not have an opportunity to write all of the names down of the people who liked Bouncing Brad and tagged 5 of their friends. And I said that I was going to pull out of the hat today somebody who would win a free consultation. So my apologies. I do not have the hat ready. We are going to do the free consultation giveaway tomorrow. But as my mea culpa, and I know people really want it. People have been texting me, I hope I win, I hope I win, I hope I win. So as my mea culpa for making everybody wait another 24 hours, tomorrow, just this one time, I'm going to pull 2 people out of the scratchy old hat. We'll give away 2 free consultations tomorrow, just as my humble apologies for not having the scratchy hat ready today. We're going to do the scratchy hat giveaway tomorrow. So 2 people are going to have an opportunity to win a free consultation with me tomorrow. And what do you have to do, Lee? We have a Bouncing Brad still. So we're going to keep that Bouncing Brad contest up for 24 more hours. There I am. You're going to win a free consultation with me. There is thinner, more hair, Bouncing Brad. That's thinner Bouncing Brad versus me right now. If I was going like this, that's fatter Bouncing Brad. You can go and find thinner Bouncing Brad on Instagram, and if you find thinner Bouncing Brad on Instagram, there I am. You can certainly still get involved in and perhaps win a free consultation with me. We're going to pick 2 people out of our hat. And with that, I do have to remind everybody one last thing. People always say, "Well, how do you get to talk to me?" Well, there's a telephone number that we have scrolling underneath. That telephone number, 1-800-529-5465. You call that number. It says, call Brad for a consultation at 1-800-529-5465. Internationally, the number is +1 212-227-8933. And if you call that number, you can get on my list. And I call people every day. Sometimes I call 15 people. Sometimes I call 30 people, literally. And I give consultations all day long until I get to do my show, which is why I didn't get to put anybody in the hat today. I was very busy. But we will do that all tomorrow. So if you do need to reach me, you can certainly call that number, 1-800-529-5465. And with that, we got to do something we like to call schmoozing with Brad. So I was taking a sip of water. So today, June 17th, marks the somber anniversary 5 years ago today, when 9 members of Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, they were shot and killed during Bible study. The shooter, Dylan Roof, targeted the group because they were black and he wanted to start a race war. So the anniversary comes amid nationwide protests in the wake of George Floyd's death. Charlotte City Councilman Malcolm Graham lost his sister, Cynthia Graham Hurd, in the shooting. She was one of the people who was killed. And today, Graham honored his sister's life and the lives of all the others who died with a march and rally at Marshall Park in uptown Charlotte. He told reporters that blatant racism in the country in the last 5 years has gotten worse. And I think it got worse because of our president. I would find it really hard for anybody to convince me it didn't get worse because of our president, because our president made it okay for people to say things and do things that otherwise nobody would have done or nobody would have said. Now, Graham said of his sister's death, what happened to her in that church basement was really not about her. It was about a race of people, because it didn't matter who she was. The only thing that mattered is that they were there and that they were black. Now, Graham hopes the demonstrations create change, but said people have to be open to change to put it to work. And I think what we're seeing now is because of the blatant racism that we're seeing in our country these last few years with Trump in power. I think people are so sick and tired of it that, you know, sadly, one of the good things that you could ever say came out of Donald Trump, if there was ever a good thing, is that there is a strong, large majority, more than 3 out of 4 Americans who want to see this change happen. And I don't know, I was having a conversation with a friend, I don't know if Hillary Clinton was elected, if we would have seen, we would have seen police killing young black men for doing nothing. We would have seen it because it was happening forever. I don't know if we would have seen the demonstrations and the level of support for change that we are seeing today if Hillary Clinton was the president. Maybe, I don't know. I think we would have been a less divisive society. I don't know if we would have seen it. So if you can say one thing that came out of, having Donald Trump, sadly, because nobody wants Donald Trump, but sadly, one of the things I think that came out of this was white and black and brown and Asian and Hispanic and everybody, walk of life, the Rainbow Coalition literally coming out, young people coming out and protesting and saying we want change. Now, meanwhile, on Friday night in Atlanta, there was another shooting. I just couldn't believe it. Rashard Brooks, he was shot dead by an officer at a Wendy's drive-thru after police moved to handcuff him for suspected driving under the influence. Now, video from the scene shows that Brooks took an officer's taser during the attempted arrest, fired the taser at the officers as he ran away, and then Officer Garrett Rolfe then fatally shot Brooks 3 times in the back with his service weapon. Now, some people are saying, well, this is different than George Floyd because the guy stole his taser and he was running away. And yeah, you can say, granted, if you're getting arrested, you shouldn't be stealing the officer's taser. and running away from the scene of the crime. But what was the crime? Sleeping in his car and to be shot in the back. The officer's life was not in danger. In Georgia, there is a very, 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 very implicit rule that says an officer can only use his gun if his life is in danger or the life of somebody else is in danger. He was shot in the back, this guy. He was shot in the back. So, at some point, you got to allow somebody, if somebody is escaping, you have an entire police force. You're telling me an entire police force can't chase down somebody running in a parking lot? That he's got to be shot in the back? And quite frankly, is Rashard Brooks such a strong guy that he was able to get away from two cops? I don't even know how he did that. I don't know what these cops were doing or thinking. So this afternoon, the Fulton County District Attorney announced that Rolfe will face 11 charges, including felony murder. Another second officer on the scene, Devin Brosnan, is on administrative duty. Now, the autopsy performed on Sunday lists Brooks' cause of death as a gunshot wound to the back. The coroner's office says the manner of death, homicide. Now, a copy of Officer Garrett Rolfe's disciplinary history released by the Atlanta Police Department late Monday lists 12 incidents, 4 citizens' complaints, 5 vehicle accidents, and a firearm discharge. Brooks had 3 daughters, 1 to 8. It's really sad. A 13-year-old stepson. Where the shooting took place, the Wendy's, that place went up in flames on Saturday night. In another part of the city, a major interstate was shut down. Protesters marched onto a connector. Channel 2 Action News obtained new video of a woman who set fire to the Wendy's. And apparently this woman is a white woman who set fire to the Wendy's. That is who set fire to it. Now, on Friday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the repeal of the 50A law, the bill which up until now allowed law enforcement to shield police misconduct. The policy package Cuomo signed also includes a ban on chokeholds, the appointment of a New York State Attorney General as a special prosecutor in cases related to the death of unarmed civilians by law enforcement, and prohibits false race-based 9/11 reports. Now, we're talking about, reforming police, not, defunding police. I think when you hear the word, I was talking about this off the air, when you hear the word defunding police, I think, people, I don't think there's a lot of people who say we should have no police. What I do think is that police should be doing police work, and police should not be doing work that is non-police work. Okay, so police, for example, I don't think police should be giving us speeding tickets. I think it should be a traffic cop, a patrolman, not even a cop, a non-cop give tickets. I will tell you, I was just talking off the air before we got on. I said, when I'm speeding, and I'm a middle-aged, I'm white, I'm a lawyer, I certainly know how to talk. When I'm speeding on a highway somewhere and a cop comes behind me, woo, 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 and pulls me over, my heart races a little bit. You got a guy coming with a big hat and he's got a gun and he's looking down on you. And just to give you a ticket and to say, okay, pay this or come to court and fight and say you weren't, there's got to be better ways to do that. So I say to myself, imagine if I was a black man, how scared I would be. And there's got to be a better way to do that. I mean, why do we need to have a cop stop somebody to give a ticket to say, go pay a fine? Why can't the cop take a picture of the guy, just like we have pictures right now of at the red lights when you go through, and send the guy a ticket in the mail? Why do we need that interaction between an armed policeman who has ultimate power over you at that moment and an unarmed civilian? Why do we need that interaction? Because how many times in traffic stops do we see young black men getting killed, getting beat up, getting pulled out of a car? So to me, that's one place I would certainly be looking to reform the police. I wouldn't call it defund the police, but I would look to reform it. Now, in New York, Commissioner Dermot Shea said the New York Police Department is going to shut down its plainclothes anti-crime units and move those officers to other assignments. Approximately 600 precinct level and police service area level plainclothes anti-crime officers are going to transition into other roles. I don't know if you saw this. I'm sure most people did. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Monday that LGBTQ rights are protected from discrimination in employment. The Supreme Court ruled that a landmark civil rights law protects people from discrimination in employment on the basis of sexual orientation and transgender status. It was a 6-3 vote, and it was written by Neil Gorsuch, who was Donald Trump's first Supreme Court nominee. Now, what was most interesting about this is now there is not a job in the world that can fire you or not hire you because you are gay, lesbian, queer, bisexual, transsexual. They cannot fire you. They cannot decide not to hire you. They cannot decide not to give you a promotion. They cannot treat you separately or differently than anybody else. And that is something that the conservatives, the Republicans, really, really, really were against. They are not in favor of treating LGBTQ people similarly to straight people. They just find that, that's anti-ethical to what they believe in the Bible and everything else, and that's their opinion. I think they're wrong, but that's their opinion. But what I found most amazing about this is that the Republicans and the conservatives, they watch Donald Trump every day say the most nasty, horrible things, and they know what he's saying and what he's doing is wrong. They know he has no ethics. They know that he's not doing what is best for the United States. He's doing what's best for Donald Trump, but they're supporting him anyway because they say, you know what? We're getting conservatives on the court and they're going to overturn and they're going to make America less liberal and more conservative. And we'll accept everything and all the crap that Donald Trump says, and we're gonna clench our teeth and we're gonna look the other way because we're getting these conservative judges. And look what happened on the first major social agenda case of the year. The judge that Donald Trump appointed, the conservative judge that was supposed to end liberal rulings, wrote the opinion for what will be the most liberal opinion by the Supreme Court in years. Judge Gorsuch wrote, an employer who fires an individual for being homosexual or transgender fires that person for traits or actions it would not have questioned in members of a different sex. Sex plays a necessary and indistinguishable role in the decision, exactly what Title VII forbids. So if you're a conservative and you say, we got to put up with Donald Trump and all of his crap and all of his divisiveness and the whole thing with Russia and the whole thing with him enriching himself as president of the United States so we can get conservative judges, and the judge that he appoints writes the most liberal decision in years, you got to be very, very deflated. You got to be very, very, very deflated as a conservative or as a Republican after that decision. Now, what's going to be very, very interesting is there's two other huge social decisions that are going to come down in the next few weeks. There's a decision going to be on DACA, and there's a decision that's going to either overturn Roe versus Wade, which allows women to have an abortion in America, or keep it legal in America. Now, I did not believe, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, whether LGBTQ workers were going to be treated equally to straight men and women in the workforce, I would say there's no way the Supreme Court would agree to that. And they agreed to it in a 6-3 decision. So we don't know what's going to happen with DACA. We don't know what's going to happen with the abortion case as well. But imagine if it's 3 for 3. Imagine if it's 3 for 3. I don't think the conservatives and the Republicans are going to really be supporting Trump after his judges didn't come through for the conservative course. We'll see what happens. But so far, they didn't come through for Trump on the LGBTQ case. Now, the other thing with DACA is, imagine if DACA does not get supported by the Supreme Court, and they overturn DACA and they say it was illegal what Obama did, and now all the DACA recipients become illegal, out of status, undocumented. What's going to happen to them? Will we have the protests that we had like George Floyd? Will we have a demand for change in America? It's possible. It is extraordinarily possible. We are living in a time where we may say it's very uncomfortable to live in this time. But in 20 years from now, when we look back in the year 2020 and 2040 or 2035 or 2040, we will say that was one of the most transformative years in the history of my lifetime and maybe in the history of the United States. So we'll see what happens there. Now, I was glad to have read this, that Starbucks reversed their decision to stop barristers from wearing Black Lives Matter apparel. Starbucks took to Twitter Friday to announce it was going to permit barristers and other employees wearing Black Lives Matter apparel and accessories, a reversal from its position from last week. So last week, Starbucks management claimed that wearing such items could be misinterpreted and maybe even incite violence if some agitators who misconstrue the fundamental principle of Black Lives Matter. I don't know how you can misconstrue Black people lives matter just as much as everybody else's. That's what it means. But they said no Black Lives Matter apparel on their baristas. Well, now they've changed their mind. The memo, which points to Starbucks' rule that employees can't wear pins or buttons that advocate a political, religious, or personal issue, followed outreach by store managers regarding employees' interest in wearing Black Lives Matter apparel. Employees told the outlet that Starbucks does permit and even provides them with pins for LGBTQ rights. Why not Black Lives Matter rights? So Starbucks' change of heart comes on the heels of an online move to boycott Starbucks. Many took to Twitter to claim they were prepared to boycott Starbucks in response to this, but now Starbucks changed their mind. And finally, before we get into our Hump Day news, we'll talk about coronavirus tomorrow because we want to get into our Hump Day news. I was also glad to see this, that Aunt Jemima is finally going to remove the racial stereotyped cartoon picture of Aunt Jemima on the syrup bottle. Now, I will say, when I was a kid, that was the original Aunt Jemima. When I was a kid, and then they tried to, and that was really stereotypical of what you would think somebody who works on a plantation would be wearing. But certainly, when I was a kid, when I was a child, I even looked at the Aunt before I knew what racial stereotyping was. I would look at the bottle before I understood and was able to understand all the concepts of what's going on with race in America. As a kid, I would say, boy, this looks racist to me. So even as a young child, I realized that. So, this is a 130-year-old brand, and it features Aunt Jemima, who is a Black woman who was originally dressed as a minstrel character. The picture changed over time, and in recent years, Quaker removed the mammy kerchief from the character to blunt growing criticism that the brand perpetuated a racial stereotype dating back to slavery. But now, because of what's going on with the George Floyd protest, Aunt Jemima has faced renewed criticism recently. People on social media called out the brand for continuing to use the image, discussed its racist history, and finally, in one viral TikTok, a singer named Kirby discussed the history of the brand in a video titled "How to Make a Non-Racist Breakfast." And she concludes the post that has racked up hundreds of thousands of views across platforms by saying, "Black Lives Matter, people, even over breakfast." All right, so let's get into some Hump Day news. Let's see what's going on Hump Day. We can be talking about, there's so much news. I skipped half of it, but we've got to get to our Hump Day news because it is Hump Day. We have some camels. We do. There are some camels. We will be, hopefully, we're going to be back in our studio next week. We're going to have the real camels back. Right now, we just have our cartoon character camels. And by the way, when we get to our Hump Day stories, I have to be frank with you. I have no idea what they are. I don't read them ahead of time. So I learn about the Hump Day news as you do. So let's find out what it is. Now, a viral video is actually a Pornhub ad. A man logs off Zoom meeting for some alone time, but accidentally left the camera on. Oh my gosh. Recently, a video went viral in which a man named Daniel, who's hosting a group video call, suddenly gets up to go get something in the other room. He thinks his webcam is off and muted, but everyone else can clearly see what's about to happen. Daniel starts pleasuring himself on the Zoom conference meeting with his coworkers, who understandably start freaking out. Let's see what this is.
Daniel.
God.
I don't think he's
Daniel.
January.
Can you do that for us?
Daniel.
Daniel.
Call Mika.
Oh my God.
You call Daniel.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Because originally it was nobody realized that this was an ad. Everyone thought it was real. Well, it turns out the video was an ad released by the website Pornhub.com as a way to promote International Masturbation Day, which was on May 7th. I missed that day as well. I missed International Sex Day last week, and I obviously missed International Masturbation Day. Nobody told me it was May 7th. I missed that one too. Said Alex Katz, a co-founder of Officer and Gentleman, Pornhub's long-running creative partner, in a statement that the idea was pulled from real-life accidental video conference flashings and bathroom breaks. Katz said, ever since the start of the pandemic, we've all had to adapt to working from home pretty quickly. And for a lot of us, that meant being connected to your coworkers or video calls throughout the day. But as we've seen recently, some people are still getting the hang of the technology. Meanwhile, in Central Park, sunbathers are not only skipping putting masks on. This past weekend, they were skipping putting their pants on as well. Sunbathers flocked to Central Park, Sheep Meadow, to catch some rays right here in New York City this past Sunday, but did not want to cover their faces. And as a matter of fact, didn't want to cover much of anything. Several people stripped down to their skivvies to let the sun shine in where the sun never shines. But while going pantless was simply a bold fashion choice, those who forswore masks and blew off social distancing guidelines were flouting a state mandate to put in place to stem the spread of the coronavirus. Governor Andrew Cuomo touted the state's really great progress in battling coronavirus, but threatened to shut down Manhattan and the Hamptons if people start sunbathing without clothes on and masks on. Meanwhile, the New Zealand government has deployed nude porn actors in a web safety ad, the latest in a series of striking public service announcements using humor to tackle tricky subjects. In the latest video for the Keep It Real online series, actors pretending to be porn stars tell a woman that her son has been watching their clips on his laptop, iPad, PlayStation, his phone, your phone, smart TV projector, adding that they don't talk about consent and just get straight to it. The ad follows a December 2019 report that revealed young New Zealanders use the internet as their first and primary tool to learn about sex. The series encourages parents to stay cool, calm, and collected when starting difficult conversations with their children about sex. Meanwhile, a Van Gogh letter co-written by Gauguin detailed visits to their brothel sells for $237,000. Now, people who may know who Van Gogh was, he was a artist in France, in Paris, I believe, and he also lived in Austria for some period of time, perhaps as well. And he was best friends with Paul Gauguin, who were both artists at the same time. Van Gogh never sold a painting his whole life. He's the guy who cut off his ear because a woman would not date him or marry him, and he died very, very poor. And after he died, his paintings are worth hundreds of millions of dollars now, but he never lived to sell a painting. Well, in a remarkable letter in which the 19th century artists Vincent van Gogh and Paul Gauguin, they were best friends, discussed everything from a great artistic renaissance to visiting brothels, was acquired by the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. The 1888 letter to fellow artist Emile Bernard was bought from a private seller at an auction in Paris yesterday for $237,000 by the Vincent van Gogh Foundation, and is seen as an important document in the Dutch artist's creative and personal life. It was one of the last remaining letters in his private hands. Van Gogh notably praises Gauguin as an unspoiled creature with the instincts of a wild beast. And finally, for Hump Day, we have one last story. The tortoises that saved their species by having sex have returned to their natural habitat. After saving their species by means of excess procreation, a group of Galapagos tortoises will be returned to their native habitat in Hispaniola. This includes Diego, the nearly 100-year-old tortoise who copulated so much that he fathered 800 little turtles. That's nearly 40% of the tortoise population comes from this one turtle. The tortoise partakes in a captive breeding program initiated in the mid-1960s when the population decreased to a measly 15. Following the program, the population on Galapagos is now 2,300 turtles. Said Park Director Danny Rueda to Reuters, "We can shut down the captive breeding program of this species because their natural behavior is now effective." All right, that is our Hump Day news of the day. We got to get to our immigration questions. Before I get to my immigration questions, I do got to remind everybody, this is the time that you will be sharing this with your friends and family. So if you are watching on Facebook right now, please start your watch party. How do you start your watch party? How do you start your watch party? There's a way to start your watch party. I don't have Facebook up in front of me right now because I lost my YouTube. But you start your watch party. Somebody teach everyone how to start a watch party. You can also share this to your friends and family as well. Let me get YouTube up. I lost YouTube. I don't believe it. Also on YouTube, please subscribe. If you like this program, please subscribe on YouTube, and you will be notified every time we come on the air. And with that, there's YouTube. There we go. All right, let's see what's going on YouTube here. And on YouTube, we have 96 people watching, 59 thumbs up. And we're going to get into some immigration questions. Start your watch party. Subscribe on YouTube. Give us some thumbs up. The blue thumb needs to get some thumbs up. Share this. How do you share this? You share by pressing the share button right to the right on YouTube, right to the right of the thumb. And on Facebook, you can also share this to your homepage right there where it says like, comment, share. You can press share and you can write a post. They give you more options. You can do lots of different things. You can share this onto your page, a public page, a private page, into groups. Let everybody know that I am going to be answering your immigration questions right now. So with that, I do have to tell everybody that unfortunately, I lost a lot of the questions on oh boy, I lost all our questions. If you left a question on Facebook, I don't know why Facebook did this. Let's see. Let me go back to Facebook now. Why would Facebook do this? Oh gosh, Facebook did this to me. All right, so if you needed a question answered on Facebook, we're going to start with YouTube. If you needed a question on Facebook, ask your question again because I lost all of the immigration questions. So please ask your question again. My apologies. We're going to start answering the questions on YouTube first. Also ask your questions on YouTube also. I lost all those as well. It's one of those days. I can't believe it. But if you stayed through the entire schmooze, you deserve to have your immigration question answered. So leave it right now, both on Facebook and YouTube. I apologize if you left your question before. I've completely lost them. We got to get new ones in something we like to call, you got a question, I'm going to give you an answer, in immigration, pandemic, questions and answers. All right, so Janice Williams starts off, hi, Uncle Brad. My son wants to file for his dad, but the father's name wasn't added at birth. What can he use to prove there is a relationship? All right, so there's two things. One is if the father's name was not put on at birth and the father was married to the mother, the best way to prove the relationship is take a blood test. It's my biological father. However, in a lot of circumstances, the father was never married to the mother, which is why the father's name was never put on at the time of birth. If that is the case, then you need to prove not only that you're the biological father, but that you had a relationship with the child from birth to 18. So how do you prove biological if the name wasn't put on? Well, you're going to have affidavits from the mother and other people who know that the father is the father because they were there at the time of birth. They can say, yes, I was there at little Timmy's birth, and I remember his father, John, was ecstatic. He was passing out cigars to everybody, or whatever they can say that they know that when little Timmy was born, and I don't know, nobody's named little Timmy anymore, I just made that up. But when little Timmy was born, they know that little Timmy's dad, at the time of the birth, he was yelling it out to everybody. I'm the father, I'm the father, I'm the father. That's how you prove that he is the father. You get affidavits from people to say that he acknowledged that he was the father contemporaneously with the time of the birth. Now, sometimes immigration accepts those letters, sometimes they don't. If they don't accept those letters, then you're going to take a blood test. But you're going to submit those letters first and wait for immigration to say, we don't buy those letters, take a blood test, and then you'll do a blood test. Now, unfortunately, they discriminate against fathers who were never married to the mother. In addition to proving you are the biological father, they want you to also prove, as a father who was never married to a mother, that you have a relationship with this child from birth to 18. So how do you prove that? Well, here, I'm in pictures with little Timmy. Here's dad and little Timmy in pictures together. Here's dad sending money for little Timmy's support. Here's dad on little Timmy's school record showing he's the father in case of an emergency. Here's dad on the baptismal certificate. He was there at the time of the baptism. Here's affidavits from people saying that dad's a great guy. He used to come by and, play football or soccer with little Timmy after school every day. Whatever it is. So, it's going to be a combination of affidavits and documentation. Maria Joe with a question. Squad up, Uncle Brad. I filed the I-751 and me and my husband are unemployed due to COVID-19. Does it impact my green card? No, it does not. On the I-751, your unemployment does not impact the green card because there's no poverty guideline requirements for the I-751. The only requirement for the I-751 is that you and your husband are in a bona fide marriage. That's all you have to prove, whether you're working or not working. Danny K with a question. Hey, Brad, do you know if the United States is accepting international B1 now from the Caribbean, not on the travel ban list? Please, thank you. If you can get on an airplane, I do not believe I have ever read anywhere that they are not accepting people from the Caribbean. It's a matter of getting on a plane and getting to the United States. But from the Caribbean, I've not seen a ban. The ban right now is Canada, all of Europe, and most of Asia, and Brazil, and Russia, and China, which is part of Asia. But I have not seen anything from the Caribbean. Agawa Torre. Hi, Brad. My cousin's interview was canceled. It was March 26, 2020 because of the corona. Her medical records were sent to the embassies overseas. Do you think she will have to do it again? It's very possible she'll have to do it again because the medicals are only good for 6 months. So if it's more than 6 months, unfortunately, they may have to do it again. Razak Mustafa. I am a volunteer departure. I'm married. I'm on voluntary departure. Okay. I'm married and adjust my status. My I-45 was denied. My I-130 was still pending. What should I do? Sounds like you need a lawyer because if you took a voluntary departure, you need to reopen your deportation case, which is why your I-45 was denied. You can't take a voluntary departure Voluntary departure is when you're in deportation and you say to the judge, Judge, don't put me in handcuffs. Don't put me in jail. I promise you in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I'm going to leave the country and I want to go on the airplane like a human being without any escort. And when I get to my home country, I'll go to the embassy and show you that I'm there and I'm voluntarily leaving. Now, when you don't do that, when you don't voluntarily leave, it automatically turns into an order of deportation or removal and bars you from adjusting your status for 5 years. So if you take a voluntary departure, you have to reopen your voluntary departure within 90 days. If you do it beyond 90 days, you don't do it through the judge. You have to do it through a joint motion with the immigration trial attorneys. And you got to be able to show them a lot of hardship on why this would be a terrible, terrible thing if I did not get my deportation case reopened. That is why your I-45 was denied and why your I-130 is pending. You're not eligible to adjust until you reopen your deportation case. So whoever's filing or whoever's advice you're following to do what you are doing, you're doing it wrong. Call me. Excuse me. Alam Aga with a question. Hi, Brad. I'm a United States citizen. I separately filed the I-130 for my wife and children, 5 and 6, and both documents got approved. I paid and accepted at the National Visa Center on February 4th and March 8th, 2020, but they're waiting for consular offices to open and send the appointments to schedule. Please explain. Okay. There is something that is going on in the world right now. It's called a pandemic. It starts with a virus that started in China that's spreading around the world. And as a result, many, if not most of every embassy, U.S. embassy that is processing immigrant visas, those embassies are now closed. There was a 60-day moratorium on immigrant visas processing by Donald Trump. That moratorium is up, but you got to still wait for the U.S. embassies to reopen. Until they reopen, there's not a human being who can process these cases. Now, you're a United States citizen, so the moratorium on children and spouses of U.S. citizens were not part of Donald Trump's moratorium. So with or without the moratorium, your wife and children should be able to come. It's a matter of get somebody in the U.S. embassy to work there and open up and do it. That is what the problem is. And it all relates to coronavirus. Tijaz Desai, hello, Brad, sir. Any updates on ban of family visas? I just updated you. Rupan Thakador, hi. When the National Visa Center accepted all the documents and they're waiting for the interviews abroad, so during this time, the green card holder spouse can visit the foreign country and the interview date is late. The answer is yes. If you have a visitor's visa, you can go visit, but you've already showed an immigrant intent by filing the paperwork. So there's always a possibility when you come into the airport that they give you a hard time or even deport you for having an immigrant intent. So you got to be very careful traveling, what you're saying, and what your plans are for coming to visit. So the answer is yes with a little asterisk. RR. Hi, Brad. I was arrested in New York for a controlled substance 6 years ago. I received an ACD. Case was dismissed after 6 months. Can I apply for citizenship now? Yes. If the ACD was dismissed more than 5 years ago to this day, you can apply for citizenship. Absolutely. Safi, and the reason is because then you have 5 years of good moral character. Safi Darbor. Hi, Brad. I have an approved VAWA on my EAD. The category is C31. What does that mean? And when should I expect my interview? C31 means your I-360 was approved. So you're getting your work permit as a result of having an I-360 approved. When you're getting an interview, I don't know. Did you file an adjustment application? If you didn't file an adjustment application, you're never getting an interview. Magic 8 Ball. Safi Darbo. I have no idea where she filed, if she even filed an adjustment, where it is, when it was filed. I didn't handle her case at all. All I know is she has a work permit with the C31. But with all of that information that I know about Safi Darbo, that all she has is a work permit with a C31 stamp, Magic 8 Ball, when will Safi get her green card? And the Magic 8 Ball says, my reply is soon. That's what the Magic 8 Ball says. I just literally repeat what the Magic 8 Ball says. Kamar Solomon with a question. Charged for theft in the home country. I paid a fine. No jail time. Would that affect my adjusting status married to a U.S. citizen? Yes, because by paying a fine, you pled guilty to a crime. Whether or not that is a petty offense, whether or not that's a crime of moral turpitude or an aggravated felony, I have no idea. We have to see what you pled guilty to. So the answer is it absolutely will affect you. A, because it may make you inadmissible. B, it certainly goes against good moral character. Let's see. Seema Rahman with a question. Me and my husband had an individual interview in Atlanta court. USCIS came to our house to ask questions. 45 minutes after a few months, they put my husband's case again to a master hearing. Can you tell me why? I think that after you had your individual hearing, they came to your house to investigate to make sure that you're in a bona fide marriage. Hopefully you are. I don't know what the individual hearing was for. Was it for an adjustment of status? Was it to prove that you're in a bona fide marriage for the I-130? So I'm not sure what the individual hearing was for, but I presume that if you got scheduled back for a master calendar, either the immigration judge will rule for you to be able to adjust your status or terminate your proceedings to allow you to file an I-485 locally with the Atlanta office. So I'm not exactly sure why, what's going to happen at the master calendar hearing, because I'm not sure what the individual hearing was for. But presumably, if everything went well on your interview when the USCIS came to make sure that you're in a bona fide marriage, I assume you should be okay. Denise Johnson with a question. Hey, Brad, my mother-in-law passed away in Jamaica. I did my citizenship, but I never got to do my swearing ceremony because of the pandemic. Can I go? If I will go, will there be a problem? You can go to Jamaica. And by the way, my condolences. You can absolutely take a trip to Jamaica. Just don't do a trip for more than 6 months. You can go for a month or two. Absolutely. Let's see. BB with a question. We got annoyed. She didn't get annoyed like I'm annoyed. Oh my God, I'm angry annoyed. She got annoyed, which is a notice of intent to deny. Gotta be careful when we say I got annoyed. Like Jilly was annoyed with me earlier, but she did not have a notice of intent to deny. We got annoyed for an I-45 asking for proof that I went to a conference I came to the United States for. Is it wise to include more evidence of our bona fide marriage as a marriage based on adjustment of status a year after the interview? They're not asking about the bona fide marriage. They are asking whether or not you went to the conference that you were supposedly coming to on your visa. And the reason they are asking that is if you did not go to the conference that you were supposedly coming to for the visa, then you committed a misrepresentation. You came to the airport, said, here's my visa, I'm coming to a conference, and you never went to that conference. They're going to deny you for misrepresentation. So as long as you have proof, just with immigration, you only answer the question that they ask. Don't submit documents that they're not asking for. They're not asking for proof whether you're in a bona fide marriage or not. They're asking for proof. Did you make a misrepresentation when you came into the airport? Did you go to that conference or you did not? Because if you didn't go to the conference, then you lied. What's your purpose of coming to America? And they're going to deny you for misrepresentation. And then you would need a waiver. So just answer the question. You don't need to submit proof of the bona fides of your marriage. They're satisfied you're in a bona fide marriage. They're not satisfied that you told the truth when you came into the airport at this point. Becky Hallelujah with a question. If a 12-year-old boy is on medical, does it affect his adjustment of status? He can't be put on his stepfather's insurance due to not having Social Security number yet. It does not affect, I guess you're talking not medical, Medicaid. Medicaid for children under 18 does not affect poverty guidelines, if that's your question. So the answer is no, it should not affect. Kiki Agakun. Kiki with a question. Hi, Uncle Brad. My partner and I just got married yesterday. We are planning to file the I-130 and I-45. Congratulations. We only have pictures as evidence as of now. Well, you just got married yesterday, so that's fine. When you file your adjustment application, you don't have to submit evidence that you're in a bona fide marriage. You just have to submit evidence that you're legally married. Here's my marriage certificate. Here's the divorce decrees if me or my spouse were previously married. The bona fides of the marriage happen at the interview, which will be in 9 to 10 months from now. So I presume you're going to live together. And if you live together, I presume you're going to have a financial relationship together, and you're going to have a joint bank account together, and you're going to pay your bills out of that joint bank account, and you're going to do a joint tax return at the end of the year, and you're going to have rent receipts or a home that's purchased in both your names, and you're going to bring all this documentation. You're going to be able to do 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 months of documentation of proving you're living together, and you're going to bring all of that to the interview. So don't worry that you only have pictures now. Nobody expects you to have anything other than a picture. You just got married yesterday. Mashwal Sawal with a question. I don't understand why the U.S. Embassy in Ghana refused me a visa after they sent me an email that I have overcome the public refusal. Well, Shawal, I don't know either why they would refuse you a visa after they overcome. I don't know what the public refusal means. I guess you mean public poverty guidelines. I'm not sure what you mean by public refusal. So I don't know why the embassy denied you either. I don't even know what visa you were applying for. So you're asking me to tell you why the U.S. Embassy denied you. The only way I can figure that one out would be for you to call me, and then I would call the U.S. Embassy in Ghana and speak to somebody there and say, hey, my client, Mashwal Shawal, why was he denied? And they'll tell me. And then I'll talk to them and say, well, how can we overcome this denial? And we'll figure out if we can overcome the denial. But if you're asking me why they denied you right now, I don't have the slightest idea. Kiki Agacum. My I-94 expires the middle of the next month. Is it possible to file the I-130, the I-45 now without more evidence? We will definitely get more evidence before the interview. Yes, Kiki, I answered that question. File now. Hill 60. Good evening, Uncle Brad. Is it possible for someone who lives in New York can be an affidavit of someone in Florida? Absolutely. Anyone can give an affidavit of support for anybody in the United States. You don't have to live in the same state. You don't have to be related. All you have to do is prove you're a U.S. citizen or lawful resident. That's the only requirement to give an affidavit of support for somebody. Lynn James with a question. Hi, Brad. USCIS received my I-751 in February. They took my old biometrics and added it in May. How long do I have to wait to get my 10-year card? The I-751s are taking about 18 months, so you're going to be waiting a little bit, unfortunately. Dianba Dial. Hi, Brad. When the application support center going to reopen? They say early July now. Let's see what happens. Let's see what's going on Facebook now. Let me move my phone over here and see what's going on. Maybe the left side is a little better than this side. Or this side. I think this side's better. Janice Williams says, hi, Uncle Brad. My son wants to file for his dad in Jamaica, but his name wasn't added to the... I think I answered that question already. Let's see what else we have here. Colin Beulah-Worry. Good day, Brad. Our SIDGE case was started in October 2019, and for 4 months, nothing was done because of COVID. As of now, we have no idea what is going on. Should it take this long time is the essence. My son's going to turn 20 in November. Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. The courts in New York are closed right now. Hopefully, when we get to phase 2, which is supposed to be Monday, the courts will be open again. Usually, family court hearings in New York take 10, 12 weeks. You know, obviously because of Corona, it's taking a little longer. Yes, I would be concerned. Your son is turning 20. You want to get this done before he's 21, well before he's 21. What you should do is call to have a consultation. I presume the courts are going to be open on Monday, and we can go check if you're in New York what's going on with those cases. Zaida Garcia with a question. Hi, Dad. My mom applied for me 2 years ago. I'm married. I'm over 21. If she retires and decides to live outside the country, does this affect her filing for me? Yes, it does, because you're supposed to be coming to reside with her, and she's not living in America. And number two, she won't be able to give you an affidavit of support, but that's not the end of the world. But then again, you can't ask your mom to live in the United States. Your case is going to take another 12 years. You're going to ask her to live in the United States for another 12 years. So it's a problem. She can go retire back home and then come back as the visa gets closer, for sure. But yeah, if she's not living in America for 12 years, they're gonna have a hard time giving you a green card to go join your mom when she doesn't live in America, because that's the basis of the application. Denise Cromaz says, "Hey Brad, I live in Jamaica. My mom is a U.S. citizen. She filed for me back in March 2013. I was married when she filed. I'm now divorced. The national visa sent a letter with my case number when I logged on. My ex-husband is still on the filing. I uploaded divorce paper to NVC. How long will they take to review and remove him from my filing? It should be about 8 to 12 weeks. He should be off the filing, and it should be upgraded to an F1, and you should be eligible for your green card immediately." Akila Logan with a question. My mom overstayed because of COVID. She has a visa. Will she be affected to come back to the USA on her next visit? Absolutely, she will. If she overstayed because of coronavirus, that's not an excuse for overstaying. She should have made an extension on her tourist visa. We've talked about it a lot on my show. So overstaying because of corona is not an excuse for overstaying. She could have made an extension. She will not be allowed back in the United States. She would have to get a new visa. Her visa is void now. Phaelanis with a question. Hi, Brad. Can a green card holder sponsor her married 30-year-old child and still get a B2 visa while waiting for the last 15 years? The daughter and her granddaughter just want to visit from time to time. No intention of staying more than a month, just pure visit. No, if you file, the answer is yes. Anything is possible to happen. But if you apply for an I-130 for your child, it is very, very doubtful that the U.S. Embassy is going to give you a tourist visa, because she's already shown an intent to get her green card. That doesn't mean you can't go. That doesn't mean you can't try. I'm just saying it is unlikely. Adelaide Isam says, I've been calling the office and no answer. Okay, Adelaide, send us a DM. Either in Messenger or on Instagram right now at Bradshaw Live, and I will have somebody in my office grab your number and call you. Joseph Canuta, does the temporary suspension on the green cards affect those outside of the United States whose cases are already processed by the National Visa Center pending interview? Yes, it does. Enger Ben Ergenyeko. Please, can someone who filed the I-130 approved file for a K3 if the country with the beneficiary live? What? Please, can someone whose I-130 was approved file for a K3 if the country beneficiary is on an immigrant visa ban? So you're talking about Nigeria. You can, Nigeria, you can file the K3 because the ban is on immigrant visas. K3 is not an immigrant visa. Pauline Blackwood with a question. Good evening, sir. Brad, is your company open for a person to come in? I'm trying to reach our lawyer. We sent her emails, but she does not reply. Pauline, I don't know why she's not replying. We are working from home. Drop us a DM in Bradshaw Live Instagram, and I'll see to it that your lawyer responds to you. Let's see what else we have here. April Walker. I was filed for by my sister, who is a USA citizen from 2006. I send in all the paperwork that was requested. How long do I wait for my interview date? You should be eligible for your green card now for May 2006. I'm not sure what you mean by you submitted all your paperwork or where you're at, but presumably if you've put in all your paperwork, you should be eligible anytime now. Stargirl Mika with a question. Brad, someone who was deported and was banned end up getting a one-entry visa to travel after the ban was lifted, do you think they will have any problem when they get to immigration airport? Was deported after serving time on a drug charge. Well, why did they get this one-time visa? Did the embassy realize when they got this one-time visa that he was deported on a drug charge? Because they would not, unless he filed some sort of waiver, he wouldn't be eligible for a visa. If he got a waiver, then he should be able to come to the United States, although presumably if it's a drug charge, you could always be found inadmissible at the airport for being a suspected drug trafficker. So I need to know more about what happened. Hi, Brad. Good evening. I hear that the 60 days will be extended for immigrants. Will it affect the ones that are at the National Visa Center? If it is extended, it affects everybody. FAPA, but we don't know if it's going to be extended or not yet. FAPA Saru, I'm applying for a green card from EB3 unskilled, but I have misdemeanor C on my record. Will that deny me? A misdemeanor C is not a crime of moral turpitude, so it should be okay. Juliet King with a question. Good evening. Good afternoon, Brad. Bless up yourself. Quick question for you. Put in for adjustment of status, and they gave her an 18-month extension. Now her 18-month expired this June. She called USCIS to say if they were about to change her job, she can travel. I don't know if you're talking about an adjustment of status or you're talking about an I-751 to remove the conditions. That's usually when you get an 18-month extension. She can travel. She can work. She can get a stamp in her passport if the 18 months is coming up until they make a decision. All right. Jessica Leamy, the highlight of Bradshaw Live is not only seeing Brad, Yo-Yo, and Nesquik, but those telephone calls. Can't wait for the call for a friend and then end up revealing the truth. Yeah, I can't wait for the telephone calls too. And I think that's going to be it. Oh, one last one. Zaida Garcia. I'm already living here in the U.S. Would it work if my mom lived outside the country just for part of the year? Yeah, that would work fine, Zaida. All right. And with that, I do have to remind everybody, if you did not get your immigration questions answered, you could always drop me a DM at Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram. I'll be happy to answer the question there. If you want to get in on the free consultation contest, we're going to run it for one more day. I'm going to pick 2 people out of our hat tomorrow for a free consultation. All you got to do is follow at Bradshaw Live, find Thin Bouncing Brad, tag Thin Bouncing Brad, tag 5 friends on the post. I can't even talk anymore. On Thin Bouncing Brad, and like that post, and maybe you will get pulled out of my hat. In addition, please subscribe on YouTube. Please like and follow on Facebook. And of course, the telephone number is scrolling on the bottom if you need to reach me. And that telephone number is 1-800-529-5465, or internationally +1 212-227 8933. And Lee, we have some comments of the day. What are our comments of the day? Denisha Joseph, if you're not part of the Brad Squad, you're missing out on a great squad family. My advice, join the squad now. Don't wait. I agree, Denisha. George Obika, hi, Brad. Thanks for the great job. Thank you, George. Stargirl Mika, hump day. Too much information on my grandma's and she's listening. Oy. And that's what we have for the day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a safe night, everybody.